Good Yontif, Shanah Tovah. It's good to be here with you again this evening, this day of days, Kol Nidrei. The human spirit is the lamp of God, searching out what lies within us. Guided by the flame of conscience, on this sacred night we search for truth. Shine your light upon us as we strive to serve you. May we find safety in your faithful love. We light the flame of healing and forgiveness. On this atonement night, we give thanks for love.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech Olam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotov v'tzivanu lahadlik ner shel Yom Tov. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech Olam shehechianu v'kiyamanu v'higiyanu lazman hazeh.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kedeshanu b'mitzvotav v'hitzivanu lahadlik ner shel Yom Tov. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shehechianu v'kiyamanu v'higiyanu lazman hazeh. Amen.
Yom Kippur, the Jewish people's festival of the soul, and Kol Nidrei, its sacred portal, a night of deep emotions, a night, as the psalmist wrote, to rejoice with trembling. We rejoice at the sound of Kol Nidrei, rhythmic words of release from vows, oaths, and promises to God we fail to keep. We tremble at the melody, music of spiritual amazement. It fills us with awe as we stand before God and Torah. We rejoice that we stand together, strengthened by community, in this hour of shared weakness and humility. We tremble, for tonight we confess our flaws, admit our imperfection, and acknowledge a power far beyond our understanding. We rejoice that we commit ourselves to great endeavors because we feel so deeply and think so nobly. We tremble, for we find that our ideals are far greater than our ability. Our promises surpass our might. We rejoice in the freedom that is Kol Nidrei's true gift, the freedom to begin a new year without fear of failure, to aspire to be God's image in the world. We tremble because we are mortal. We rejoice in our gratitude for life. We rejoice with trembling and enter Kol Nidrei to face our humanity. Please rise.
Zaru alat tzadik uyishrei lev simcha. Zaru alat tzadik uyishrei lev simcha. Or zaru alat tzadik la tzadik uyishrei lev simcha. Esarei V'charamei V'konomei V'chinuyei V'kinusei U'shavut Din Darna Udeish Tabana Uda'acharimna V'dasana Al-nafshatana Miyom Kippurim Zeh Ad Yom Kippurim Haba Aleinu L'Tovah Kulhon Icharatna Vehon Kulhon Yehon Sharan Fikin Shavitin Betelin Umvutalin La Sharirin Bala Kabyamim Nidrana La Nidrei Vesarana Kaesare Ushavuatana Lashavuot
Kol Nidrei, all vows, resolves and commitments, vows of abstinence and terms of obligation, sworn promises and oaths of dedication, that we promise and swear to God and take upon ourselves from this day of atonement until next day of atonement. May it find us well. We regret them, and for all of them we repent. Let all of them be discarded and forgiven, abolished and undone. They are not valid and they are not binding. Our vows shall not be vows, our resolves shall not be resolves, and our oaths, they shall not be oaths. All shall be forgiven, the entire community of Israel, and the stranger who lives in their midst, for all have gone astray in error. Moses prayed to God, as you have been faithful to this people ever since Egypt, please forgive their failings now in keeping with your boundless love. And God responded, I forgive as you have asked.
Vayomer Adonai Selakti Kidvarecha Vayomer Adonai Selakti Kidvarecha Vayomer Adonai Selakti Kidvarecha Baruch et Adonai Hamvorach Baruch Adonai Va'ed.
Blessed are you, Adonai. Your great name fills the universe with majestic might. Your word creates twilight and dusk, as your wisdom opens the gates of night. Your discernment separates the changing seasons and causes the passage of time. The stars, arrayed across the sky, reveal your design. You roll out the cycle of darkness and light, shaping day and night. You sweep away day and carry the world into nightfall, setting day apart from nighttime. You are God of all we can perceive and all that is beyond our perception. Living, eternal God, be our sovereign to the end of time. Baruch atah Adonai, Hamariv Aravim. Blessed are you, Adonai, creator of twilight and dusk.
Love beyond all space and time. Your love enfolds your people Yisrael. We receive it in your teaching, your gift of Torah, sacred obligations, discipline, and law. So let us speak these teachings when we lie down and rise up, and find joy forever in your Torah and mitzvot. They are the very essence of our life, ours to ponder and study all our days. May we never lose or be unworthy of your love. Baruch atah Adonai, Ohev Amo Yisrael, for you are blessed, the one who loves your people, Yisrael.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Va'ed. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavecha u'v'chol nafshecha u'v'chol meodecha ve'hayu hadavarim ha'ele asher nochi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam v'shivtecha v'deitecha u'v'leftecha v'derech u'v'shofbecha u'v'kumecha u'kshartam leot al yadecha v'hayu letotafot beineinecha u'chtavtam al memuzot beitecha u'visharecha Leman tizkaru v'asitem et kol mitzvotai v'tem gerushim leloechem Ani Adonai Elohechem Asher hotzeiti echem me'eretz Mitzrayim liot lachem lelohim Ani Adonai Elohechem Adonai Elohechem emet.
Truth and faith, these are fundamental to our existence. God alone is their source, and we are Israel, a people of God. Our sovereign saves us from the tyranny, redeems us from its violence through countless wonders, from its brutality through great feats beyond measure. We are Israel, a people of God, the giver of life who would not let our feet give way, the maker of miracles for us against Pharaoh, of signs and portents in the land of Egypt, the one who brought our people Israel from its midst to enduring freedom. Witnesses to this heroic might, the people thanked and praised God by name, freely accepting the rain of heaven. Then Moses and Miriam and all of Israel sang to you this song of utter joy.
Mi chamocha bailim Adonai, mi kamocha nedar ba'kodesh, nora tehilot osef eleh. malchutecha ra'u vanecha bokei hayam livnei Moshe Zeli anu ve'amru Adonai yimloch leolam abad v'ne'emar ki v'da Adonai et Yaakov u'galo miyad chizak mimenu Baruch ata Adonai Ga'al Yisrael Amen.
Bless our sleep with peace, Adonai, and awaken us to life when we rise. With your sublime spread over us, your shelter of shalom. And through your wisdom restore us, make us whole. Let your name proclaim your presence in our lives. Be our shield. Make us stronger than the enemies we face. Illness and war, famine and sorrow. And stronger than the enemies in our hearts, wickedness and sin. Carry us to safety as on wings. For you are the monarch of grace, the sovereign of compassion. You are the one who cares for us and sets us free. Watch over us. We who go forth in life watch over us, that we may come home in peace, now until the end of time. Blessed One, you spread over us a canopy of peace.
For on this day atonement shall be made for you, to purify you from all your wrongs, and pure you shall be in the presence of Adonai.
Yitgadal v'yikadash shemei Rabbah B'alamad yivrak yirutei v'yamlich malchutei B'chayechon uv'yomechon uv'chayeda kol beit Yisrael Ba'agala uv'izman kariv ve'imru Amen. Yehi Shmei Rabbah mevorach le'elam ul'olmei almaya ul'olmei almaya yitbarach yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitba'ar v'yitroman v'yitnaseh V'yitadar, v'yitaleh, v'yitalal, Shemei dekudashah, v'richu la'ela ula'ela, min kol bechata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, tamiran melma v'imru, Amen.
Have mercy upon me, O God, as befits your faithfulness. In keeping with your abundant compassion, blot out my transgressions. Wash me thoroughly of my iniquity and purify me of my sin. For I recognize my transgressions and am ever conscious of my sin. Adonai sifata tiftach ufi yagid tehilatecha. Adonai, open my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Please rise.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu Elohei Avraham Elohei Yitzchak v'Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah Elohei Rivka, Elohei Leah, Elohei Rachel, Ha'el HaGadol, HaGibor v'Hanora, El Elyon. גומל חסדים טובים וקונה הכל וזוכר חסדי אבות ואימהות ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם למען שמו באהבה זוכרנו לחיים מלך חפץ בחיים וכותבנו בספר החיים למענך אלוהים חיים מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן ברוך אתה אדוני מגן אברהם בעזרת שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, בחיי הכל אתה רב להושיע. מכלכל חיים בחסד, בחיי הכל ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים. הם מחיים אמונתו לשני עפר. מי כמוך בגבורות ומי דומה לך מלך ממית ומחיה ומצמיח ישועה מי כמוך רחמים זוכר יצוריו לחיים ברחמים ונאמן אתה להחיות הכל. ברוך אתה אדוני מחיי הכל. אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש וקדושים בכל יום יהלו סלה.
You and you alone, Adonai, will reign over creation, upon Mount Zion, home of your presence, and in Jerusalem, a city set apart by you. As the psalmist believed, Adonai will reign eternally, your God Zion for all generations. Hallelujah! You are holy, your name is awe. There is nothing divine beyond you. As the prophet Isaiah taught, the source of all might is exalted through justice, the God of holiness made holy through righteousness. Baruch atah Adonai, HaMelech HaKadosh. Blessed are you, Adonai, holy sovereign. In your love, eternal our God, you have given us this Yom Kippur, a day on which our wrongs are forgiven with love, a day of sacred assembly, a day to be mindful of our people's going out from Egypt. Our God and God of the generations before us, may a memory of us ascend and come before you. May it be heard and seen by you, winning your favor and reaching your awareness, together with the memory of our ancestors, the memory of your sacred city, Jerusalem, and the memory of your people, the family of Israel. May we be remembered for safety, well-being, and favor, for love and compassion, for life and for peace on this day of atonement. Zochrenu Adonai Eloheinu bo letovah, ufokdenu vo livracha, v'hoshienu vo lechayim. Eternal our God, remember us, be mindful of us, and redeem us for a life of goodness and blessing.
Eternal our God, your people Israel yearns for your favor. Receive their prayer with loving acceptance, and may you always desire your people's worship. Divine One, close to all who call upon you, bring your grace and presence near to those who serve you. Pour forth your Spirit on us, and may our eyes see your merciful return to Zion. Baruch atah Adonai, hamachazir shechinato l'Tzion. Blessed are you whose divine presence is felt again in Zion.
God who is ours, God of all generations, to you we are grateful forever. Rock and protector of our lives, your saving power endures from age to age. We thank you and tell the tale of your praise, your power in our lives, your caring for our souls, the constant miracle of your kindness. Morning, noon, and night, we call you goodness, for your compassion never ends. We call you mercy, for your love has no limit. We call you hope, now and for all time. And for all these gifts, God of majesty, may your name come to be blessed and praised, our gratitude a daily offering until the end of time. Inscribe your covenant partners for a life of goodness, and may all life resound with gratitude and faith in praise of your name. God, you free us and strengthen us. Baruch atah Adonai, hatov shimcha ulecha na'eh lehodot. Blessed are you, Adonai, whose goodness deserves thanks and praise.
Peace, profound and lasting, all-embracing. Peace. Let this be your gift to Israel, your people. In your goodness, author of peace, bless us and all people, every season, every hour, with the peace that is yours to give. Let us and the whole family of Israel be remembered and inscribed in the book of life. May it be a life of goodness, blessing, and prosperity. May it be a life of peace. Baruch atah Adonai, Osei HaShalom. You are the Blessed One, the Eternal One, source of Shalom.
יהיו לרצון אמרי פי, והגיון ליבי. יהיו לרצון אמרי פי, והגיון ליבי לפניך. Adonai tzuri, Adonai tzuri b'goali, Adonai tzuri, Adonai tzuri b'goali. Go inside your heart, just be. Go inside your heart and see what it wants, what it needs, what it yearns when you breathe. Go inside your heart and see. May the words of my mouth and the meditations of my heart be kind, be true. May they be acceptable to you, oh my rock, and my redeemer.
Shana Tovah. Welcome, members, visitors, and guests. On Rosh Hashanah morning, I spoke about more we and less we. That if we just commit to the collective we and less on the individual me, many of our challenges will vanish. I want to start by thanking everyone for making their personal commitment of both time and treasure towards Adat Chaverim. Whether it's your membership commitment to our school, supporting our major fundraisers, gifts towards our new building, and your continued support of our Kol Nidrei appeals, thank you, thank you, thank you. We are in a very unique time, uncharted territory that no one could have prepared us for. This pandemic has forced each one of us to rethink our most basic daily routines and assumptions that we have never thought we would question. How unimaginable would it have been a year ago to think of making a decision of whether your child should go back to school or study remotely? To think that you aren't able to see parents or friends due to the fear of spreading a virus? To see our jobs change to remote work or being deemed an essential worker, requiring you to put yourself in harm's way? And even worse, to see your job vanish. Because of these struggles, many of you choose to lean in and increase your virtual participation, while others have distanced themselves. This is completely understandable. Even prior to 2020, there has been a steady current pushing people further and further away from synagogue life. That pandemic only perpetuates what some of us have already had in mind, saying, I just don't use the synagogue like I used to. My family doesn't participate anymore. I just don't need it. Let me be clear. We need you. We need us. Why is your presence such a necessity? While we may not be physically present, you should know that our children are still learning and our families are still celebrating. You are needed to make these things happen. With your support, Rabbi Ben, Valerie Klein, and our teachers can instill a love of Judaism for the future in our children. You are needed so our sons and daughters can celebrate their bar and bat mitzvahs. Regardless of how Adat Chaverim provides this instruction, virtually or in person, Valerie and her staff are doing their best to teach the next generation, as well as celebrating the joys of Judaism. While we may not be physically present, you should know that our Brotherhood and Women of Adat Chaverim continue with programming, events, and fundraisers. Our committees and Board of Trustees have dedicated thousands of hours over Zoom, continuing the hard work to find our next home, to attract new members, and put these high holy days together. While we may not be physically present, you are needed to help sustain Reform Judaism in North Texas. Often, many days feel like Groundhog Day. Our community needs the separation from the week that Friday night Shabbat provides. We still need to mourn our losses, and now more than ever, we all need to support one another. This is the sacred work that Adat Chaverim provides. We need you, and we need us. If you are contemplating membership for the upcoming year, please remember, you are needed, and it takes all of us. While we are physically distanced, connecting in a more distant fashion, it is imperative that you understand that you are needed, and it takes all of us. You are needed, and it does take all of us to help teach and celebrate, to help us nurture the Jewish community and make Reform Judaism relevant in North Texas. You are needed, and it takes all of us, more than ever, as we begin our Kol Nidrei appeal tonight, as it represents an even more significant portion of our budget this year. Please consider a donation at your personal capacity. Last year, we had a high school student lead several donors with his personal donation of $57.80. Can we increase that by 1 penny this year? I would like to challenge every person tonight to donate at least $57.81 if they are able. Most importantly, please consider donating if you have felt these high holidays have been meaningful, and to show your support to our Religious Practices Committee, who who have worked so hard to make these online services a reality. There is a teaching by Hillel in Pirkei Avot, which reads, "Do not separate yourself from the community." Many scholars have said that this was directed at those in leadership to follow the interests of the community. I challenge all of us to do our part. Be a leader and do not separate yourself from your community. I thank you for allowing me to serve as your president of Adat Chaverim. And on behalf of Michelle and our children, and on behalf of our staff and the Board of Trustees, may you and your families and all Jews around the world have a meaningful fast, and may your name be sealed in the Book of Life. Good Yontif.
Please rise. Eloheinu ve'Elohei avotenu ve'imotenu, tavo lefanecha tefilatenu. Our God and God of all generations, may our prayers reach your presence, and when we turn to you, do not be indifferent. Adonai, we are arrogant and stubborn, claiming to be blameless and free of sin. In truth, we have stumbled and strayed. We have done wrong.
I Ashamnu, Bagadnu, Gazalnu, Dibarnu Dofi. He'evinu, Behirshanu, Zadnu, Chamaznu, Tefalnu Shaker. Yatnu Ra, Kizavnu, Latnu, Maradnu, Niatnu, Sararnu, Avinu, Pashanu, Tsararnu, Kishinu Orev. Rashanu, Shichatnu, Tiavnu, Tainu, Titanu.
Of these wrongs we are guilty. We betray, we steal, we scorn, we act perversely, we are cruel, we scheme, we are violent, we slander, we devise evil, we lie, we ridicule, we disobey, we abuse, we defy, we corrupt, we commit crimes, we are hostile, we are stubborn, we are immoral, we kill, we spoil, we go astray, we lead others astray. For these sins, our God, we ask forgiveness. Al chet shechatanu lefanecha, the ways we have wronged you deliberately and by mistake, and harm we have caused in your world through the words of our mouths. Al chet shechatanu lefanecha, the ways we have wronged you by hardening our hearts, and harm we have caused in your world through careless speech. Al chet shechatanu lefanecha, the ways we have wronged you through lies and deceit, and harm we have caused in your world through gossip and rumor. Al chet shechatanu lefanecha, the ways we have wronged you by judging others unfairly, and harm we have caused in your world through disrespect to parents and teachers. Al chet shechatanu lefanecha, the ways we have wronged you through insincere apologies, and harm we have caused in your world by mistreating a friend or neighbor. Al chet shechatanu lefanecha, the ways we have wronged you through violence and abuse, and harm we have caused in your world through dishonesty in business. V'al kulam meloah slichot, slach lanu machal lanu kaper lanu. For all these failures of judgment and will, God of forgiveness, forgive us, pardon us, lead us to atonement.
Ve'al kulam Eloha selichot, salach lanu mechalanu, kaper lanu, ve'al kulam Eloha selichot, salach lanu mechalanu, salach lanu mechalanu, kaper lanu.
Al chet shechatanu lefanecha, the ways we have wronged you openly and secretly, and harm we have caused in your world by losing self-control. Al chet shechatanu lefanecha, the ways we have wronged you through sexual immorality, and harm we have caused in your world through consumption of food and drink. Al chet shechatanu lefanecha, the ways we have wronged you by giving in to our hostile impulses, and harm we have caused in your world through greed and exploitation. Al chet shechatanu lefanecha, the ways we have wronged you through cynicism and scorn, and harm we have caused in your world through arrogant behavior. Al chet shechatanu lefanecha, the ways we have wronged you by hating without cause, and harm we have caused in your world through offensive speech. Al chet shechatanu lefanecha, the ways we have wronged you with a slanderous tongue, and harm we have caused in your world through a selfish or petty spirit. V'al kulam meloah slichot, slach lanu machal lanu kaper lanu. For all these failures of judgment and will, God of forgiveness, forgive us, pardon us, lead us to atonement.
Ve'al kulam Eloha selichot, selach lanu mechalanu, kaper lanu.
God of forgiveness, we come before you in need of compassion. At Sinai, you spoke words that guide our lives to this day, but our ancestors lost faith in you, lost hope in their Redeemer. With one voice they had promised, we will do and obey, and yet, stiff-necked, they broke their word, adoring an idol of gold. How wondrous your compassion in the face of their rebellion, your forgiveness in that moment of human weakness and doubt. We too have broken promises to you. We too worship the work of our own hands. We too make of gold a god, and we too forsake your word. At Sinai, you revealed 13 attributes of mercy. These aspects of your nature, your very essence, we now recall. Adonai, Adonai, El Rachum V'Chanun, Erech Apayim V'Rav Chesed V'Emet, Notzer Chesed La'alafim, Nosei Avon V'Afesha V'Chata'a V'Nakeh. Adonai, Adonai, El Rachum V'Chanun, Erech Apayim V'Rav Chesed V'Emet, Notzer Chesed La'alafim, Nosei Avon V'Afesha V'Chata'a V'Nakeh. Adonai, Adonai, God compassionate, gracious, endlessly patient, loving, and true, showing mercy to the 1,000th generation, forgiving evil, defiance, and wrongdoing, granting pardon.
We are your people, you are our ruler. We are your children, you are our parent. We are your possession, you are our portion. We are your flock, you are our shepherd. We are your vineyard, you are our keeper. We are your beloved, you are our friend.
Avinu Malkeinu, ha'er lanu et derech chayenu. Avinu Malkeinu, illumine for us the path of our life. Avinu Malkeinu, how shall we find the strength to take the road less traveled by? Avinu Malkeinu, how shall we come to know the purpose of our existence? Avinu Malkeinu, how shall we learn not to live life in vain? Avinu Malkeinu, how shall we get out of our indifference? Avinu Malkeinu, how shall we distinguish between truth and falsehood? Avinu Malkeinu, how shall we find the answers to our questions? Avinu Malkeinu, how shall we gird ourselves with strength to seek answers? Avinu Malkeinu, chonenu va'anenu, ki chazkenu ve'amtsenu, ki v'cha imcha hatshuvot. Avinu Malkeinu, be gracious to us, answer us, empower us, and give us courage, for the answers are both in you and with you.
Avinu Malkeinu, chatanu lefanecha. Avinu Malkeinu, katfenu b'sefer chaim tovim. Avinu Malkeinu, chamol aleinu, ve'alol aleinu, v'tapeinu. Avinu Malkeinu, kale dever, v'cherev v'ra'av, me'aleinu. Avinu Malkeinu, kale kotzar, umastin, me'aleinu. Avinu Malkeinu, Avinu Malkeinu, kotvenu b'sefer chaim tovim. Avinu Malkeinu, chadesh aleinu, chadesh aleinu, Shanah Tovah. Avinu, Avinu Malkeinu, Harem, Harem, Keren, Yisrael Amecha. Avinu Malkeinu, chonenu va'anenu, ki ein banu ma'asim, aseh imanu, tzedakah v'chesed, v'hoshienu. Avinu Malkeinu, Shema Koleinu.
Good Yontiv, Shana Tovah. To me, Yom Kippur is an interestingly self-contradictory holiday. Traditionally, this day is a rehearsal for death. We don't eat, we don't drink, we don't wear leather, we don't take pleasure in cleaning ourselves up, and we wear a kittel, a white robe that ultimately is used as a burial shroud. Yet our rehearsal for death is all in the service of asking God for forgiveness that we might live for another year. We act as if dead in order to live, a contradiction. But as Samuel Johnson famously said, when a man knows he is about to be hanged in a fortnight, it concentrates his mind wonderfully. We rehearse our own deaths so we can concentrate on life. This year, I have felt my mortality more acutely as we have struggled to deal with the COVID-19 pandemic. The pandemic has concentrated my mind, as it were, leading me to contemplate on how I am using my increasingly limited time. There are many people who treat life as if the goal were to accumulate as many things as possible, the more expensive, the better. They equate wealth with respect or honor and seek to erect monuments to their own egos. Yet every time I see people with this attitude, I am reminded of Percy Bysshe Shelley's poem, Ozymandias. I met a traveler from an antique land who said, "Two vast and trunkless legs of stone stand in the desert. Near them on the sand, half sunk, a shattered visage lies, whose frown and wrinkled lip and sneer of cold command tell that its sculptor well those passions read, which yet survive stamped on these lifeless things. The hand that mocked them and the heart that fed. And on the pedestal these words appear, my name is Ozymandias, King of Kings. Look on my works, ye mighty, and despair." Nothing besides remains. Round the decay of that colossal wreck, boundless and bare, the lone and level sands stretch far away. If the monuments even exist thousands of years later, who would really care about the person who had them built? You may subscribe to the thought, too base to be called a philosophy, that he who dies with the most toys wins. Yet I agree with its rejoinder, that he who dies with the most toys is still dead. I think that Andrew Carnegie, one of the wealthiest men to ever have walked the planet, would have agreed. Carnegie is famous for an essay about wealth, in which he wrote, "The man who dies thus rich dies disgraced." By the end of his life, he had given away over 95% of his wealth, somewhere between $65 billion and $80 billion in today's dollars. It has me thinking about the legacy I'll leave behind when my time walking this earth is over. I won't be known, if I'm remembered at all, for the wealth I accumulated and then gave away. This day, when we rehearse for our own deaths, when we are confronted with our own mortality and it concentrates our minds, what should be the legacy that we aspire to leave behind? How should we be living our lives now so that we can build the legacy we leave behind? You may not have known this, but in this life, there is a final exam. At least there is, according to Rava in the Talmud, Shabbat 31a. Rava said, after departing from this world, when a person is brought to judgment for the life they lived in this world, the heavenly court asks several questions. The very first question that they ask is, did you conduct business faithfully? Bet you didn't see that one coming, did you? But Judaism has always been about how we live our lives in this world, with the understanding that if we live our lives well today, the world to come will take care of itself. So if you want to leave a legacy, first you have to conduct your business in this world honestly, truthfully, faithfully. Andrew Carnegie is well known for building a fortune as an industrialist and giving most of it away to fund libraries, Carnegie Hall in Manhattan, universities, scholarship funds, charitable foundations, and much more. Yet despite his legacy as a philanthropist, he's also well known for having flooded out Johnstown, Pennsylvania, and violently breaking the Homestead Strike, during which 10 people were killed. Despite all his philanthropy, he will also be remembered with an asterisk by his name. Think carefully before your final exam about how you can answer the question, did you conduct business faithfully? The second question on your final exam is, did you designate times for Torah study? Now, this question is actually related to Mishnah Pirkei Avot 2:4, in which we are exhorted, say not, when I shall have leisure, I shall study. Perhaps you will not have leisure. Believe me, as a rabbi, I know. Torah study is not everyone's jam. And when you have leisure, Torah study will not be at the top of your leisure time activities. I get it. But do you get it? This isn't actually about Torah study. Let me put it into today's idiom. Did you put the big rocks in first? Every day is a container which can hold 24 hours and no more. You can fill that container with sand, things like scrolling through Facebook or checking your Twitter feed, trivia that don't contribute to a truly meaningful life. But if you put the sand in first, there won't be room for the big rocks, like spending time with your family, improving yourself, or making your corner of the world a better place. You cannot leave a legacy if you use up your life entirely on the trivial. But don't worry. Even if you put the big rocks in first, there will always be small little places where the sand will fit in. What this question is really asking, did you choose to prioritize what is really important, what leaves behind your legacy, before adding in the pleasant, trivial distractions that can liven up a day? Or did you fill your days with trivialities, accomplishing nothing of substance? The third question on our final exam is also not as it seems on the surface. Did you engage in procreation? No, it is not asking if you had children, or not that only. Rather, it is asking, have you created with the future in mind? The most famous example of this point is from the Talmud, Ta'anit 23a, in a story about Honi the circle maker. One day, Honi was walking along the road when he saw a certain man planting a carob tree. Honi said to him, "This tree, after how many years will it bear fruit?" The man said to him, "It will not produce fruit until 70 years have passed." Honi said to him, "Is it obvious to you that you will live 70 years, that you expect to benefit from this tree?" He said to him, "I found a world filled with carob trees. Just as my ancestors planted for me, I too am planting for my descendants." When we create, we are asked, is it only for our own benefit or for the benefit of future generations to come? Louis XV of France is known to have answered, "Après moi le déluge." After I'm dead, I don't care if there's a second flood. But we Jews are called to a different standard, for we are called upon to think of more than ourselves. We are even called upon to think of more than our own children or grandchildren, but of all the generations of humanity to come who will find this world better or worse for our actions during our lives. We will be called to account Have you contributed to a better future for the world? Tonight is the beginning of Yom Kippur, a day on which we rehearse for our own deaths. It is a day which concentrates our minds on how we live our lives and the legacy we will leave behind. A day on which we ask ourselves, have I acted honestly and with integrity? Do I prioritize what's important instead of filling my days with the trivial? Have I contributed to a better future or been completely selfish? It is a day on which I must wonder, if we already know the questions that will be asked on our final exam, why do so many of us still fail?
Good Yontif. It is great that so many have joined us virtually this year. I would like to start by thanking Rabbi Sternman for leading us this evening, and Randy and John for your music. And again, thank you to Rabbi Sternman, Faith Retzky, and the Religious Practices Committee, Jonathan and Andrew Goldstein, and Stahl Friedenberg for all your planning and work in producing these high holy days. Normally, we're joined by several folks in the Bema, and this evening, we'd like to honor some of our current officers and trustees from our Board of Trustees. Treasurer Louis Zwick, Secretary Donna Herman, and trustees Michael Abigail, Anna Beth Denny, Paul Descher, Jonathan Goldstein, Peggy Kersner, Nick Martin, and Joe Paul. A few quick announcements. Tomorrow morning, we will have Young Family Service, followed by a family art project. Following that, at 10:30 a.m., our Yom Kippur morning service. And that will be followed by a study, healing, afternoon Yizkor, and concluding service throughout the day. In lieu of being physically together during the break fast, we welcome everyone to do this together over Zoom. We'll be sharing some fun excerpts from our services that you won't want to miss. Details to all of our services, times, and links can be found on our homepage. Thank you, and good Yontif.
Aleinu l'shabeach ladon hakol, latet gedula lo yotzer breshit, shelo asanu kegoye haratzot, velo samanu kamishpachot adama, shelo sam chelchenu kahem, vegor aleinu kechol hamonam, Banahaknu koreim, umishtachavim umodim, lifnei melech malkei hamlachim, hakadosh baruch hu. V'ne'emar v'haya Adonai l'melech al kol haaretz, Bayom hahu, Yiyeh Adonai echad, Ushemo echad.
Our thoughts turn to loved ones whom death has taken from us in recent days, and those who died at this season in years past. Our hearts open as well to the wider circle of loss in our community and wherever grief touches the human family. Zichronam livracha, may their memories be a blessing in this new year and always. Please rise. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei rabbah, bi'alma divra chirutei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayechon uv'yomechon uv'chayei dechol Beit Yisrael, Bagala uvizman kariv vimru amen. Yehi shmei rabba mevarach le'olam almei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh. V'yithadar v'yitalev v'yitalal shmei d'kudusha b'richu. Le'ela min kol berchata v'shirata. Tushbachata v'nechamata. Da'amiran bi'alma vimru amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shamayim. V'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'imromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'al kol yoshvei tevel v'imru amen. May the source of peace and peace to all who mourn, and comfort to all who are bereaved. And together we say, Amen.
Adon Olam Asher Malach B'terem Kol Yitzir Nivra Le'et Nasa B'chefzo Kol Azai Melech Shemo Nikra Ve'acharei Kiklot HaKol Levado Yimloch Nora V'hu Haya V'hu Hoveh V'hu Yiyeh B'tifara V'hu Echad Ve'ein Sheni Laham Shilo Lahachbira B'li Reshit B'li Tachlit B'lo Ha'oz Ve'hamizra Ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 Ve'hu Eli V'chai Goali V'tzur Hevli Be'et Tzara V'hu Nisi Umanosli Menat Kosi Be'yom Ekra Ay la 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 ay ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 Be'yado Afkid Ruchi Be'et Ishan Ve'aira Ve'im Ruchi Gaviyati Adonai Lo Libelo Ira Ay la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 la